Hey everyone, today we are in northern Yukon, Canada. There's barely any traffic on the road up here, and as we make our way north, we've been doing some camps. You see that hill up there? It's just naturally grassy. I want to see if we can go up there and do some camping. So we just parked the vehicle here. When you're out in the middle of nowhere, there are so many places you can park. They leave all these little parking lots open to the public. And there's areas with trash cans everywhere. You come across one at least every 20 minutes of driving. There's a pull-in, outhouses, trash cans, just to keep the area clean. The trees don't grow very tall in northern Yukon. As we continue driving up north, you can drive all the way to the Arctic Ocean. Eventually the forest is going to be gone. It's just going to be grass. They have permafrost. The pavement is about to end. These roads are about to get a lot worse. But there's all these natural grassy areas up on these mountains. We want to go up there and camp at one of these. Look at that, it's nice. They've recommended to us it's not a good idea to actually go camping up in the Arctic. We'll get some footage up there, but it's not a good idea because polar bears, the most dangerous type of bear, roams up there, especially in the open areas. You don't really want to be there. This area's got grizzlies, but they've told us the attacks are actually super duper rare. We just put our food somewhere far away from where we're sleeping, and because this area has a high grizzly population, we just try not to sleep near the water. They usually stick to the rivers. But in here at the end of this parking lot, there's no trail. These are pretty much just pooping trails because there's no toilet here. But there's a pond down here. There's a gap of land and then a bigger pond. We're gonna try to go between that gap, find our way up to that grassy hill, or maybe even go over it to another grassy hill. But I like seeing this, the trees. This is as big as they get. The trees just don't get big up here. Well, let's start this adventure. So when you're in an area that actually has lots of wildlife, you're gonna naturally just find trails. You're gonna find openings. It's really not that bad of a bushwhack. Bushwhacks are worse when you're in an area near the city where it just doesn't have large animals making that possible. But look at this, there's a large body of water in here. Look at that giant truck. It's got 2 tankers of fuel. But yeah, we have a body of water here. We're gonna try to go around it to get up there, see where it takes us. It's easy to walk right here over these bushes. Ooh. We'll find our way, and look at this. This pond's definitely got beavers. It's not the freshest cut. Okay, let's make our way down closer to the water. All right, now we're walking, trying to make our own way. It's pretty open in here between these trees. These northern forests, the trees just don't seem to grow super tight. And the floor of the forest is just a beautiful carpet of moss. It's super soft. I'm trying to get closer to the water because animals will frequent these places and there'll probably be a good trail. There's already a little trail. See that? Something small. Wow, this moss, it's so deep. And you might see the plants are starting to turn yellow. It's the middle of August, but a lot of the forest is showing signs it's getting ready for winter. Deep down inside of these trees, the forest floor is beautiful. We're making our way back up a hill. The water didn't have any substantial animal trails. Look at this beautiful carpet of moss. Look at this, remnants of our last forest fire. Some skeletons out here standing dead. And there's even one over here chewed by beavers in the middle of the screen. But the forest recovered nicely. Just looking at the girth of them, I don't think it was a super bad fire. Grew back nicely. And it's nice and open in here now that we got a distance from the parking lot. Trying to stick with the open path. Ooh, we got moose tracks in here. All right, everyone, I want to show you on our map what we're doing here. So that's where we parked. We're halfway by this pond. There's a much bigger pond back here. We're going to go between them. There's probably a little trickling stream. And when we go between them, the trees here aren't very close together. It'll be easy to walk through there. And eventually, this is where we're going. It didn't look like far when I showed you down by the road, but that is a pretty good walk to get to that big clearing. Clearing's a lot bigger than it looks from the road. And back in the day, the old highway had lots of curves in it. There's lots of construction currently going on. They're getting rid of all these unnecessary curves, hills, dips. And see, they're slowly straightening it out, and there's a bunch of abandoned roadways. Those scars will be there forever. They're not tearing up the pavement. But look down here on the ground. You see that log? Lots of moose have been trampling over that. I'm trying to stay on the moose's trail because it's nice and wide open. Got some spider webs to knock down. Yep, there's a pretty wide opening as long as I can continue to figure out where the moose are walking. It should be fairly easy to go. Oh my gosh, it's our first creature. Look at him. Pretty cute. Perfectly still. It's a squirrel. And beaver cut, beaver cut, beaver cut. The beavers have been busy. Maybe we can try to tie them to these ponds. Maybe they're the reason these ponds are here. Lots of spider webs. This almost looks as if it used to be a road. We're down inside of a dip. And it kind of looks engineered, the land here. Ooh, wow, lots of spider webs. Look at this nice big clearing. The spider webs are kind of funny. Some of the spiders, right before I crash through their web, you see them just let go of their web. They drop to the ground. A lot of animals must continuously knock their webs down. You can see the scuff marks. We're following exactly where the animals walk. It's the best way to get through the forest. Look for where the sticks are trampled over. Look at that. The moose or the deer, something's been scraping against that bark. This is the time of year I believe they're trying to get the velvet off their antlers. So we might even find scraped up bloody branches, because when they're doing that, they bleed a bit. Look at that, that's pretty cool. Look at all those holes. That's just piles and piles of ground up spruce cone. But we're still following and tracking this trail. It seems to be going exactly where we want, to the land bridge between the ponds. And lots of nice flat areas. You could literally pitch a tent. There's lots of dry firewood. But we're not going to be having a fire today. It's too dry. It's just asking for trouble. don't think it's this way. We have to keep following the animal's trail. Animal's trail seems to be going that way. I can't see it yet, but the really big pond is back here. And the animals did lead us to the land bridge. Their trail wasn't going straight there, but it did eventually lead around again. This is where the animals walk. All I'm seeing really is moose tracks. We have a good line of visibility too. These trees aren't very tight or anything. But right in the moss, I see the moose's indents. You don't even need to bring a machete if you're following an animal trail. It's all wide open, and they trim the trail as they walk. This is the moose's main food source when it's winter, eating as they go. So now the moose trail, you can see all their footprints going all the way up over this hill. So a moose trail, just like a roadway, oftentimes isn't straight. You may wonder why roads aren't straight. It's because they build it usually where it's the easiest. Building shelves along mountains instead of having a super steep hill going up and over. Same thing the animals do. We just went off course in the wrong direction for a while, but the trail eventually made it around these hills rather than over them through the tight trees. It's a longer route, but it requires less energy, and that's why the animals go this way. And the moose route might actually bring us by the big pond by the looks of it, right by the edge of it. See? Still following moose tracks. I can start to see the big pond through the trees. And we got a clearing going down to it. Look at those moose tracks. And we got bear spray on us just in case. This area's got wolves and the grizzly bears, but there's more black bears than grizzlies. We've already seen 3 black bears on the drive up here. No grizzlies yet. I did find bear tracks, which I think were a grizzly. At least that's what one of the workers at the campground said. But right here in the moss, those are moose tracks. That's all I'm seeing is moose tracks. And we're just following their trail. It's nice and spongy, nice and squishy. This area would actually be amazing to set a tent up. It's so soft and squishy. It's like a natural mattress. We're almost up to the coast of the big pond that we couldn't see from the roadway. So this hike to that hillside is gonna be probably a couple hour bushwhack one way. I hope we get to see the pond. And there's gotta be some sort of stream connecting these, just the way it looks from overhead. Still following that moose trail. They provide a very nice big path. This is so squishy. But it's dry. It's been dry out, hasn't rained in a while. Wow. All these hills, that's natural. All that natural grass. We're gonna have a really good view in a moment. All right, we're following the moose trail. We're trusting you, moose, that there's a land bridge somewhere, even though your trail's a bit squiggly. But there's a very defined crevice here where the moose have been putting their feet for years. And it's keeping us a decent away from the mud. Very decent defined trail. I just want to see the water for a minute. I'm going off the trail for a minute just to see this water. It's a pretty big pond. Nice grassy hill. The hill we're going to, we can't at the moment see. But yeah, there should be a land bridge. See how this is closing up. I like how the trail brought us over to see the bigger pond. Now, yes, there's definitely a stream, but this is still level with the pond, so I'm hoping we find a beaver dam with an easy place to cross, whether below the beaver dam or on the beaver dam. Because this is still a pretty flooded area, and we're looking for a spot to get to the other side. Okay, this is getting more promising. Look how small the stream has got. Bottleneck, and I hear water falling. The beaver dam is right up here. We're either gonna cross below it or over it. So yes, there is gonna be a dry spot coming up soon. It's getting a little overgrown because the moose got long legs, and I'm pretty sure they took this route across. But I hear water. I'm pretty sure that's the dam. We just gotta walk a little bit further. Yes, this is a dam. All right, this spot here is the shallowest water on the stream and the most debris on the bank. It's difficult to get down here, but a very easy area to cross. We're no longer on the moose trail. But yeah, super easy to cross. Look at this little trickle now. Yep, the beavers are responsible for that pond being a couple feet deeper than it would have been without them. So they didn't create the pond, but they certainly made it bigger. And a nice rocky bottom, don't have to worry about sinking. I'm just coming back up here because yep, this is the trickling water. Yep, that's a beaver dam. It doesn't look like it's had the most recent maintenance. And everything we're seeing in the woods that's chewed by beavers looks to be about a year old, actually. So whether the beavers are still here, I don't know. Out here in the middle of nowhere, I don't think they would have been trapped. But bears love eating beavers. So that could be why they're gone. Nice easy spot to cross. Look at this tree here. If you touch it, look at that. Look at that powder all over this tree. What is that? See this here? There's a trail. Something very small has been walking there. And we can see this on our map. I believe this is a fire break. If a forest fire breaks out, this is where they try to stop it. You see? A machine runs along this. We're gonna follow it for maybe 10-20 minutes to a part of the forest that looks a bit more open. Then we're gonna start walking through again. I made another camping video in British Columbia. We walked one of these fire breaks for 2 hours into the woods to go camping. Every single tree on both sides of it was burnt to a crisp. In that situation, it didn't help out, but it was a nice walk. Now we gotta walk over a bunch of trees. I'm not sure how they maintain these, but I imagine they probably have a machine that just mulches all the trees probably during the winter, because these go in pretty straight lines, even through floods. And they would do that when it's all frozen. All right, everyone. We followed the fire break for maybe 10 minutes, and now we're walking through a part of the forest that's got a lot of openings. Beautiful moss floor, very easy to walk through. I estimated it would take about 2 hours to walk out here, but it could be a little bit slower since we're not going in a straight line. We're just walking pretty much on moose trails. There's lots of moose up north. I always say how many moose there are in Maine. Up here in Yukon, there must be 10 times as many moose. You can't go anywhere in the forest without seeing moose tracks everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. But you don't really see them as often because there's not many roads up here. All right, we just came across bear poop. It's not the freshest, it's dried in the sun for at least a day. We're looking down, I don't even see the bear's tracks. It's just blending into the trail. But we gotta be careful, we don't know what type of bear that is. Bears do like these sort of areas. But that's why we stay loud, we keep talking. Don't want to sneak up on them. And hopefully they'd be gone before we even got to them. We're gonna have a beautiful line of sight once we get up to that camp. I love hearing the sounds of the birds. And there's a nice trail right here. Wow, look at this area. It's like a meadow as we're slowly walking up the hill. At this point, we're about a third of the way up the hill. Looks much, much bigger than when I first showed the hill in the background when I was standing at the road. It's much, much further of a hike than it looked. Look at this trail. There's a little trail here. I don't know if it's mice or something. Along the trail is all these pieces of chewed pine cone. I think when there's deep snow, some rodent is taking all the pine cones and building these big nests. So when the snow melts, that might be what why we keep finding huge masses of chewed pine cones with hollow cavities in them. It's very dry out here. You wouldn't want to have a fire unless it was raining or something. And there's no rain in the forecast for a couple of days. Not while we're out here. We're starting to really, really gain elevation. We should even see the vehicle where we parked when we get to the top of this. I think I may have found what's been making those nests. Look at this. See these holes? Ouch, there's prickly bushes. Believe it or not, in these dry hills, there's prairie dogs. We even saw one at a rest area a couple days ago. Look at this. This is pretty cool. What did this to these leaves? Focus in. Yeah, look at that. It's pretty cool. Something has made a maze on all these leaves. Every leaf has this pattern. Look at that. It's pretty cool. Now this part of the mountain's getting pretty open. It's really easy to walk. It's just steep. It's so open. There's moose tracks all over the ground. It looks like a pretty easy walk. But looking at the map, looking at the terrain map, it looks like we're going up, back down, and then the actual mountain. All right, there's the big beaver pond that we were at We found that land bridge and we have really made our way now up the hill. But yet we're only halfway up the hill. And there's that nice grassy top I was showing. It's a bigger hike than it looked like, especially since we're having to make our own trail. The animals have made some decent trails, but now that we're so far from the water, not many moose go up this far. They do, but most of them like to stay down where it's wet. It's pretty dry up here. And there's some prairie dogs up here, amazingly enough, in the woods.
Right now, he's making me a hiking stick.
All right, and this should be up to your shoulder. So hold on to it. I'm gonna cut it at that length.
Thank you.
Do you want these or cut them off?
Cut them off.
Should be good.
There's one last piece there.
Here?
Yeah.
How about you keep this and we actually polyurethane it?
Okay.
We're now in an area of very, very sharp thorn bushes. Trying to march them all down. But coming up, it's just a dead forest floor, so that'll be nice. The trees are really nice in this area. You can tell they're older and they've seen some wildfires just sweep by the bottoms without harming them at all. All right, this part of the forest floor is nice and clean. These might also be chipmunks, but it seems like whatever's making these holes is active in the winter also. Yeah, here we go again. Is that big enough to be prairie dog? I don't think so. It might be something else, maybe a chipmunk. There's lots of holes, some bigger than others. You see, they got this whole area where they're bringing over pine cones, munching them, and this is just the remains of pine cones, and most of this is spruce cone. We saw a few pine trees, but most of them are actually spruce. Oh, spider web. There's a lot of them. Sometimes in the woods it's easier to go a little off course, like zigzag, because this is a mess in the direction we want to go. And this stuff is great fire starter right here, but it's too dry to even think about that right now, unless we were to get a rain shower. It just occurred to us that up on this hill it's extremely dry. No mosquitoes anywhere. It's nice. But yet the forest floor, it's dry, it doesn't wet you, but it's still nicely alive. Until you get to these crunchies, which are actually feels interesting to step on. Still got quite the climb. Look at all this beautiful moss. It's a marvelous carpet. It's so nice looking. My back is so wet going up this hill. But I took my pack off. I want to show you something. This is like such a nice carpet. If this was flat, this would be such an awesome spot for a tent. It's not crunchy. It's just like a carpet. It's dried out in the sun perfectly. Look at that beautiful view of the treetops. Beautiful moss. All right, let's get moving up the mountain again. You won't believe what I found up here. There's a moose track right there. And look how right below the trees where they drop all their needles, it kills all the moss. It's kind of cool. Look at this, it's a complete natural carpet going all the way up the mountain. We're here during the drier season, but this area usually does actually get a lot of rain. Look at the little trails from the animals, squirrels, going between the trees. Look at that. And you got the bigger moose tracks right in the middle. There's another squirrel trail. This area of the forest is getting tighter. We're no longer in the older growth. But up north, you'd be amazed at how old some of these trees are. Even some of these smaller trees have just struggled out here for decades. It's gonna be a little bit trickier getting through this section. This area may have had a forest fire, and that's why it grew back so tight. But as time goes on, see, half of them are dying out, falling over. Eventually it'll be wide open like that last area we were walking through. Once these fallen trees rot, the couple remainders will thicken up eventually. Look at these beautiful mushrooms up here. Looks really nice. So we've been walking now exactly 2 hours. We're getting fairly close, but we've gotta go up another steep hill at some point for that clearing to be visible. There's lots of really nice flat areas here. Lots of great camping spots. But we want to go up there for that nice view. Who knows what we'll be able to see up there. It's straight that way, but sometimes the easiest path isn't always straight. And we're still following a couple of moose tracks, even this far up. Too bad it's not raining. There's so much firewood. There's not many pine trees out here. That's a pine tree. The rest of this is spruce. That looks like red pine. It grows pretty slow, so it gives a better quality lumber. Like, see, some of these trees are really big actually. Really thick trunks. So you can tell which areas are older and what areas have burned more recently. But the size of the tree, you can't tell exactly age. When they're close together, tiny little tree could be just as old as these. But those closer together ones will slowly kill each other out, so it becomes more open like this. Older growth has more openings because everything else has fallen down. This actually looks pretty cool. Look at that. So, looking at the map, this is just going to get more and more open until we get to that grassy clearing. Look at this, everyone. There's lupine right here. All over the top of this hill. It's all over the place. This is lupine. Beautiful plant. It's actually invasive on the East Coast, but here on the West Coast, it's actually a native plant. There's some slight signs of fall coming. Some beautiful colored leaves. Some of the trees are slowly tinting towards yellow. We have more of these trees. If you touch them, it makes your hands white. It's getting really, really steep here towards the end. But we'll have a beautiful view when we get to the top of this mountain. All right, we're starting to get a good view. Look at this tree. Look at that residue. All right, we're almost there. I sat down to take a break, and look at this. I have disturbed an ant's nest. They're not climbing up me. They're not trying to attack, but I don't want them on me, so we're going a little bit further. We're actually as high as we need to climb. The clearing, we're parallel with it. We just gotta walk along this steep edge like a goat. By the way, there are actually longhorn sheep in these hills and mountains. They like the clear areas full of grass, like we're planning on camping near. So took 3 hours to get to this point. Treacherous terrain. All right, everyone, we have just reached the beginning of that grassy area. The trees are getting scraggly. They're gonna disappear in the next 5-10 minutes of walking. It's just gonna be a big grassy area. Now that grassy area has a flat spot on the top of it, but most of it is super duper slanted like this. Must be a good 40-45 degree angle here. We just gotta walk on the edges of it like a goat. There's lots of boulders here that are loose. So up here, there's a lot of ants living at the top of the mountain, see that? But also, this, it looks like hens and chicks, like those plants you buy and you jam them into cracks on your rock walls and stuff. Looks like some natural growing ones. Might be a little different, but it's pretty rocky right here. We gotta be careful what we dislodge and trust stepping on, but you see it's getting grassier, less trees, and if we look down, this is the big lake that I was showing. We were just down there and we had to walk between that and the smaller pond down by the road. Now we have a marvelous view. All right, we have reached that grassy area that I was showing at the beginning of the video that I was pointing up here to. But now that we're finally here, there's lots of wheat-looking grass, some small white flowers, lots of plants that kind of looks like hens and chicks. There's also some, I think this might be some sort of wild rose bush. We missed the roses and it's making some sort of seed pods, but they're extremely prickly, but thankfully they're small. Now there's a flat area up top here and we'll have the most beautiful view. Here's those plants I was saying are kind of similar to hens and chicks. See, last year's died out. It's slowly making its way down. It reminds me, I have a lot of sedum plants at my house. I can tell it's drought tolerant, just like that. It's very dry up here, especially this time of year. Such a beautiful view. Still lots of flies. But it should be a nice cool night. We have a nice breeze up here. It's not that warm of a day. It was just strenuous, so we feel very sweaty. Look at this beautiful view we have up here. Look at that big walk. There's the parking lot where I parked. Then we have that little pond. There we have the big pond. You can't see it, but that big pond is down here between the trees. And we walked up that moose trail, kind of wet right there, across the beaver dam, all the way up here, pretty steep. Then it got very, very steep. Quite the way. I hope there's a beautiful sunset. There's a lot of clouds on the horizon, so it could be. It was very sunny when we started. Now it's a bit more cloudy. No chance of rain today. Tomorrow there's only 17% chance. But don't trust that. We set out one day with a 4% chance. It drizzled almost the entire day. But it was a nice drizzle. It's the kind of drizzle that keeps you cool. Doesn't exactly make you wet. That was a good hike. That was in BC. We did a hike. We did about a 2-hour hike into a giant burn area. Every single tree was dead. It was interesting scenery. This area probably would have been beautiful a couple months ago. This hill is just covered in wild rose bushes. So, the beginning of the video, this hill did not look very far now, did it? But this is actually a 3-hour walk, even with the woods being pretty open, walkable. What do you guys think? Could this have been a bear? We have a big anthill here, but as you can see, something with claws right here dug up the ants. Could that have been a bear? We're gonna venture into the woods here. This is the top of the mountain. It's now completely flat. So there's gonna be a mossy area. Oh, there's some sort of poop. Not sure what it is. It looks like whatever was eating it was on a grass diet. There's a lot of anthills over in the lawn area, so that might not be the best. But I'm gonna look around. Maybe it'll get mossy again. It's very flat up here at the top. Good amount of firewood if we wanted to. This is a nice secluded area. We could easily get rid of some of these sticks. It's a pretty big tree for the top of the mountain. But we'll look around a little better. It's not a bad spot. Come out here. A very, very nice view from the campsite. All right, this area gets pretty flat. This area is perfectly flat. But to fit our tent, we have to clean up all these sticks, anything that could poke through. We're gonna put a tarp over it, just in case. And then our bear bag, it's nice and flat. We need to walk in there a good 5 minutes or so, put up our bear bag. And we do not eat in the tent. We eat somewhere a good walk on the hill. Don't want the tent smelling like anything. Now, it hasn't rained in a while. We have no idea when that happened, but I do think a bear was digging up these anthills, trying to get something. Now take a look at this. This is a much larger river. There's a river down inside that crevice. That's where all the land is sliding. And that's optical zoom, so that's as clear as you can get. That's just haze in the air. But the haze is really good. There's no active fires going on up here at the moment. Now that's 20 times. That's digital, but didn't really show you anything else. Yeah, those are all grassy hills, just like what we're on. But yeah, there's a bigger river down there. I think it's the Yukon River. I'm gonna fact check that right now. And I'll put on the screen yes, or I'll put the correct name. All right, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning this area up. That is dried moss. I thought it was a piece of poop at first. Just making sure. All right. I gotta spend some time cleaning up sticks so they don't pop our air mattress. It's so extremely dry up here. We don't want to start fires. All right, this is for our bear bag. This is the tarp. We got a saw in case we wanted to cut up anything to have a fire, but if it's not raining, we're not gonna dare have a fire. It's so dry up here. That's how a lot of the forest fires start, just careless campers This is the air mattress. And before we go inside the tent, we're dumping out everything. Look at all these pine needles. This is from bushwhacking. It just fills your bag up. Now this is our #1 protection against sharp stuff because the tent is so thin. It's not going to rain tonight, so we don't really have to tuck it underneath. We got tent stakes, but I rarely ever use them. It's not windy up here, and we're going to have our backpacks in there pretty soon. And there's no mud up here. It's so dry. I don't have to worry about tracking in anything on this camp. And I want to make sure the door is facing this beautiful view. Up here in Yukon, sunset today is at 10:01 p.m. Pretty late. This area has midnight sun if we were here back in June. Still got wonderfully long days. All right, everyone, this is an MRE meal, but we're not going to eat this anywhere near the tent jacket because it'll get cold out here on these nights. A blanket, lots of water bottles. Up here, we brought water filters, but we're not going to find any water up here. It's so dry. All right, the tent's set up. Now it's time to inflate the one-person air mattresses. There's 2 of them. It's much better than pads. It gets you a good amount off the ground. This is not the hardest thing to sleep on, but it helps even if you're sleeping on gravel. I just put that stuff on there to kind of straighten it out. This tent has been a little lopsided the past couple times. I think it's something's breaking on it. Something's breaking. But I want to show it to you from a distance. I'm going to run down the grassy hill. Now this hill here, it's flat up there. It gets steeper and steeper as you go. The tent is green, so I don't think anyone's going to notice us up here. We're also in complete camouflage. But we're in a lot of wilderness here. There's only one road, and the nearest town is far, far away. You have to drive a couple hours. Barely anyone lives here. Probably 3 hours north of here. In the winter time, there'd be a ice road going across the river. This time of year, there's a ferry, and that goes to Alaska. We looked around the old gold mining town. They still got all these old looking buildings. Look at this. I walked enough. I can't see the tent from here. But there's a sheer drop right there. That's why we had to enter it from that side. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna run back up and see at what point can I see the tent. There's not really a way to see it from far away. blends in pretty good when that red blanket's gone. Well, those are rabbit poop. We actually saw a rabbit. It ran at the last moment when I was like feet from it. It scared me. Can't trust the forecast when there's no towns around and it's very mountainous. A few drops, we'd set the tent up just in time. It's raining. You can even see over on some of those faraway mountains, it looks like it's probably raining pretty hard. But we set up just in time. Just because it says there's a few % chance it's gonna rain, don't always trust that. In the middle of nowhere, there's no weather station here. Just because it says that so-and-so town isn't gonna rain, they might not have a weather station. They're just judging on the radar. It's not always right. It can change pretty fast in an area like this. Well, the sun came out again, and it's looking pretty nice. Look at how beautiful the sky is. Beautiful, beautiful looking sky. Look at that, so beautiful looking out there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So these are our camouflage color inflatable sleeping bags. We got 2 of them. They actually squeeze into this camouflage tent perfectly. This colorful thing is gonna be our bear bag. Everything we don't eat is gonna go in here, and our wrappers are gonna go in a Ziploc bag in here. We're gonna find a rock, throw it up in a tree. Good thing this mountaintop has some of these, I think this is aspen or some sort of tree I'm not used to. Looks like aspen anyways. And I think this weird pattern I was showing earlier might be snails eating the surface of it. Might be, because it looks like they left some poos behind on it. But the aspen trees are the kind of trees you really like. Evergreens, it's not good. Hoist a bear bag. These have limbs. You can throw a rock, throwing the rope up and over, tie it off, pull it up there. And there's a good amount of these on this mountaintop, which is pretty nice. So it looks like the sun's gonna come and go. It did sprinkle, but it dried up fast. Still very dry up here. Look at this big rock. There's scuff marks everywhere around these anthills, like something hungry's been up here trying to eat them away. So up here, I think we got owls. Look at the evidence. These are owl pellets. So an owl will swallow its food whole like a mouse, but it can't digest the bones, so it throws them up with all the hair. They actually used to give these out in elementary school to us to take apart, try to glue the skeletons back together. See, there's some invertebrae, some ribs. Might even see a skull at the top. And look, some kind of beetle looks like you might be eating it. But that's what they leave behind. And then there's a bunch of shriveled up moss. This is what you saw me pick up earlier in the video. It's just shriveled up moss. It's not dead though. This gets rain on it, that'll actually green up again and start spreading out. It's like a suspended animation right now. It's just waiting for the next wet season. Just so we don't have any smells of food near the tent. Look at the tent's nicely camouflaged up there. We're walking a bit away from the tent for that. We did find bear poop, but just based on its size, I think that's probably from a black bear, which isn't much of a threat to us. They're pretty afraid of us. So we're gonna walk over here somewhere, eat, and not come back with the food. We'll find a tree somewhere. Maybe even that tree in there. We're hoping to find a nice rock to use as a bench. It was pretty rocky over here where we came from. There's a nice rock to use as a chair. It's a pretty nice one. Is there anything bigger? There's also a nice view. We can walk around the top of the mountain. All right, we just walked a couple 100 feet from our tent to the end of the clearing. This is about where we came up. It's not as steep. There's more bear poop. The good news is, I think it's a black bear. If it came from a grizzly, at least a giant grizzly, it would have been much bigger than that. I think that was grizzly poop that we saw earlier, but that was down there by the water. That was quite the walk away. Trying to get us a little bit further before we open up food. Maybe up here is pretty open. We're not going to really have a view while we eat. The entire view is pretty close to the tent. Trying to figure out where we can walk that's got some distance. That bear poop is not very old. I don't want to have them have any reason. This would be a good bear bag tree, actually. See this? How it's leaning? Perfect to throw a rock up and over it. So we're off in the woods. I'm gonna put the bear bag up soon. Just eating. Put a lot of hot pepper on my food. Makes it taste better. Any wrappers go in the Ziploc bag. Gonna get sealed, then put up in the tree with everything else for morning. This type of MRE doesn't come with tea. It doesn't come with coffee. I'm assuming they give you sugar just for your blood sugar. I'm gonna see how it tastes on this veggie barley stew. Does sugar actually do anything? I don't know. I'm gonna give it a try because we usually don't even use it. These are the cheap MREs. A case of them is only $30, so they only come out to like $3 a meal or something. That's why I buy them. They're boring, so I don't even show everything they have. It's pretty much the same meal. I just buy a box of these because they're cheap. They're sealed up. Nothing can smell into these until you open them. Good survival food. It can survive fluctuations of freezing, being hot in the car, dozens, hundreds of times. I've left them in my car for years and years, through winter, through summer. They've still been good. Well, I don't regret it. It actually made it taste kind of like a pie. It tasted really good with the sugar. That was the stick's fault. Yep, I got it over what I wanted. Alright everyone, I'm untying the rock. See, it's a rock, perfect shape to tie around. We don't need it anymore. Alright, triple knot. I'm going to pull it up. It's good enough. I don't want it to get stuck. Alright, we're tied off. I could have hoisted it up higher, but I didn't want it to get stuck when we're lowering it back down through that branch. But it's still plenty off the ground. You just want it to be up on a limb that if the bear went up there, you wouldn't be able to, he'd break it. So, black bears are good at climbing. The black bear would go up there if it knew what was up there, but I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. We're peeing far away. We're going to come back and brush our teeth later. That also goes up in the bag. But for now, we're good here. The grizzly is the one I'm worried about sniffing out our food. But there's no sign of the grizzly. All those poops, I think, are from the black bear. Because grizzly bear has a bigger diameter poop. And thankfully we haven't seen that yet. We're taking a different route back to camp. That is moose poop. It's not exactly well formed, but that's moose poop. All the way up here in the top of the mountain. We got a grasshopper. I just noticed right outside the tent door, we have aphids all over this leaf, eating it. Here we go, focusing on the aphids. Look, there's some big ones and a bunch of babies. Tiny little things.
They're hungry, honey.
All right, everyone. We have about 2 more hours until it's completely dark, but it's starting to get dimmer. We're coming back to the bear bag. Gonna brush our teeth. Far away from the tent. All right, everyone. We still have another hour until the sun sets. It's starting to look pretty. It's not quite sunset time yet. We're gonna see what happens. I see rays of sun coming down through the clouds. Is it gonna get prettier? We're gonna find out. The sunset is looking a little more beautiful as time goes on. Got a really good view of it from the tent. I love how it's just naturally grassy up here. The soil, I guess, is just dry. The trees don't want to grow here. But these are perfect grazing areas for longhorn sheep. It's not an animal you want to mess with. But people that hike with dogs will sometimes run up to the sheep, and they're known to just shove the dog off the cliff. That's what they do. They'll ram it. But we have not seen one this entire trip. But there's signs all over the roads to look out for them. At this point it gets really steep. I walk down below even the grassy area for a better view. Look at that chipmunk. Looks a little bit different than the ones we have. That must be making a lot of the holes that we see out here. That's really pretty. Look at those streaks in the sky. Got a little tiny lake out there. That looks beautiful with the trees. That is looking really, really pretty now. All right, everyone. The sun has officially set. It is 10:02, and it supposedly set at 10:01. Still looks beautiful. Now that it's getting darker, this is going to be fun watching traffic. I didn't even realize this. So I saw this little piece of road. You can see cars go around that. But so far in the distance, you can see headlights now. See that down there? That must be so far away. It's going to be cool as it gets darker. Definitely want to come out and see if we can see the aurora in a couple hours when it's completely black. The sun technically set now about 30 minutes ago. All right, everyone. It's about 9 in the morning. We're going to grab the bear bag. I didn't sleep really until about 4, but then afterwards, got about 5 hours of sleep. So there was a constant little breeze up here all night, so it kept any dew from forming on the tent, which is nice, easy cleanup. But there is a lot of condensation on the inside from breathing. So we're letting that air out. We brought some instant coffee. We're gonna make that. Gain some exercise. So let's drop the bear bag down. Then we'll start packing. We probably won't get back to the vehicle until about noon. Maybe longer. It's a steep hill down. All right, everyone. It's a beautiful morning. We're gonna have some instant coffee. I dropped a piece of my Pop-Tart and I didn't even know it. Look at that. The ant stole it. For a moment, I thought it had a grain of rice, but that's clearly the Pop-Tart. I thought it had stolen a piece of the rice. That was quite easy. Instead of sweeping it out, there was some debris in there. All right, everyone, we've flattened down this area and we're all packed up, ready for the walk back down. On the way back down, we're not gonna go the same route. We're gonna go over here because there's a section of old highway that they abandoned. As they improve the new highway, they cut out bends and unnecessary hills. So there's abandoned sections everywhere. If you're on rural highways, doesn't matter where you are, they cut out bad sections from the pioneering days of the roads. And we want to walk part of it, just to see what's still there. There's a large loop. We're going to go down to the abandoned loop and just follow that back out to the road and walk back. It's all downhill today, so I think we'll get back in less than 2 hours instead of 3 hours. Let's see how it goes. It's a cloudy day, and the next 3 days it's going to rain. So we did this just in time. No bears. No disturbances. It was actually very still. I checked outside at 1 o'clock in the morning. There was no aurora, but it also didn't get dark. I could have walked anywhere I wanted. It doesn't really get dark up north. Take a look at this woodpecker hole. It's full of carpenter ant damage. This would make a beautiful spot to camp. Look at this. It's completely flat, and it feels like a carpet. The moss is actually really good on the knees. Going downhill's bad for me. Right now we're just inching our way closer to the road. These woods have lots of squirrels and lots of chipmunks. They love the spruce cones. I think the holes are all chipmunks. But that bigger hole we saw yesterday on the way in, I think that's a prairie dog. Because that one I showed under the trash can, that was only about a 10-minute drive from where we parked for this. Out in this super mossy area, just look at the amount of pine cones these chipmunks must have brought over here to do this. That is a large, deep area of shredded pine cones and spruce cones. They're just bringing it all over here, eating the seeds and dumping the broken cone everywhere. Pretty cool. And this is kind of cool. Look how much I'm sinking into this nest. And look at all the holes from the chipmunks. This area is like a dip. You can tell it. Water goes down here. By the looks of it, it could have even been an old dirt road or something back in the day. We're taking a different route than we came in. All right, everyone, we've made it down to a swampy area. It's not noticeably wet, but it's more lively. And this would be wet if it was the rainy time of the year. We're about to come up to some power lines, which will lead us to the abandoned section of road, which will lead us right back. We're like 3/4 of the way back to the main road, or about a little over halfway distance-wise to the vehicle. The entire walk down has been very easygoing. Now, in the last 100 feet or so of the walk until we get to the power line clearing, it's just so closely grown. Having a little bit of a hard spot. We're gonna have to end up, I think, plowing through some of this. It's a steep hill, nice and mossy, great for traction. All right, the power lines. They haven't mowed this in a good probably 5 years or so. Actually more like 8 years, I forget how slow the trees grow up here. You can tell by the growth pattern about how many years on the evergreens. It's a little bit of forest fire damage, but it didn't kill anything. Oh, there's our camping spot. This was a lot further away than it looked. Probably only 60% back distance-wise. We're right next to the road. We're gonna walk a little bit of that back, but I want to see the abandoned road. I gotta take my backpack off. I know I got so many branches on it. I just had to push my way through so many dead branches. Just covered my eyes and right through. We've reached the main road. This is the Klondike Highway. And, oh, I see the opening. There's the abandoned section of the road to the left that we're gonna try taking in for a little ways. Look at that fly, enjoying that dandelion. I hear more angry squirrels. There's so many angry squirrels on this trip. You always hear one at all times. All right, so look at the map. The original road, you see it continued straight and had a sharper corner before reaching the pond. We're gonna see what's down that abandoned road. All of these highways were originally dirt and gravel. The sections that lasted long enough were eventually paved. So was this paved or was it just packed down? It's still actually attached to the road. You could drive up here. You could drive up here, you could camp up here. They wouldn't care. All these little pull-ins, good spots to spend the night. I don't see any evidence of the pavement yet, but there's some reason trees aren't growing here. It might just be people driving it. The Klondike Highway and the Alaska Highway were all originally dirt roads and gravel roads. The Dempster Highway that we took up to the Arctic is still dirt. It'll probably never be paved because permafrost and severe frost heaving in the winter would destroy it. So, somebody's been driving up there, wherever that goes. Up here, looks like it's forgotten about. I don't see any tire tracks up here. But it's cool how it's still very noticeable and defined on the map. Bet a lot of animals are using this. This road is still graded perfectly, and yes, there is moose tracks up here. So not only did the new road avoid a sharper corner, it also avoided, it slightly went uphill before having a slightly steeper hill back down. I see no evidence of pavement. Someone was hunting out here though. I think it was gravel. There's also, I see owl pellets everywhere with bones. Almost back to the road. Satellite maps show this gets a bit overgrown before reconnecting. It must be where they were doing dirt work for the new road. It got kind of disturbed, which meant it wasn't as packed, so the road, or the road grew in easier. There's actually nothing that would stop me from driving my vehicle here. Every tree is small. You could easily plow through them and still use this section of road as a campsite. But down here, when they were building the new road, they obviously tore this part out to be a giant drainage ditch. When they tore it out, they didn't recompact it, so things really grew in the looser soil. That's why the trees suddenly get bigger. I do see some ruts. Don't know if they're from a vehicle. Could be heavy equipment, it could be erosion. The drainage ditches on the abandoned section were perfect up until this point. And look, there's a guardrail. And the old road was lower. This new one, that's how they got rid of some of the steep hill. They built it way up. They tear down mountains to get rid of hills. And all that stuff they tear out of there, they use to fill in the valleys. So now I'm gonna have a very steep climb up. Ooh, another chipmunk. Just climbed up that tree. And beavers. Yep, we're getting close to that pond. I wanna see what kind of culvert it has underneath the new road. There's a good amount of beaver evidence here. Wouldn't be surprised if this area floods. Ooh, we don't have to walk back down again. Here's the culvert. There's actually two culverts in case one gets clogged. Okay, look at this. That needs an unclogging. And this one here, still in decent shape. All clear all the way through. This is the same trickle of water we saw earlier. And look, there's a beaver dam, but it hasn't been maintained. The beavers are no longer here. It's been a couple of years. All the dirt washed out from their dam, meaning that pond is lower than it would have been a couple years ago. And this looks like something we can easily pull out of here. This was beavers, definitely the way it's smeared in there, but it looks so dry. Oh my gosh, it's gonna slide out for us. It looks like it's gonna slide out. Oh, wow. It's so dry. Oh, that was cool. Let's get that out of here. So the road crew maybe unclogged the lower one. So if this is clogged, that means the water was over this one at one point. Just get that out of the way. And it's clear, but I don't even know if this pipe goes through. Definitely has a low spot in the middle. Yep, a low spot. That's not the end of the pipe. It's just a glow. So it doesn't have a low spot. It goes to the end, then it's kinked. That's what you're seeing. It's clear. I thought at first maybe I was seeing the reflection of a puddle. All right. Time to make our way back up to the new Klondike Highway. Pretty steep. Look how far up they built these roads. This big of a fill job from the old road, they'll never have frost heaving here. They built it up with dry material, gravel, stone. In order to have frost heaving, the cold weather has to freeze down to it, the water has to expand to lift. It'll never get down there. They added a good 30 feet on top of this water table. They'll never have frost heaving issues here. The new road is well and improved. I hope today's video was interesting, everyone. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. We're back, and check out this view. That's the pond from the road. Even the small pond looks huge. And this pond Probably would have had double the surface area when those culverts were clogged. So either the beavers were relocated and the dam just failed, washed out, or they removed it with machines. But it looks like there's another beaver dam right here that's still holding up the pond, but there's no fresh material in the last year or so. They were relocated, but new beavers will find it soon. It was a much further walk than we thought. It'd be so cool to see a bear up there sniffing around now that we've left. There's the power lines. They've crossed to the other side. There's barely any traffic. I wish they still made pavement like this. It lasts forever. Putting so much gravel in it like that. But the reason they don't, yeah, it lasts forever, but that's a lot of wear and tear on the milling machines when they have to tear it up. This type of road will last 3 times as long before deteriorating, but a lot of places don't do it anymore. It's more tolerant to heat, more tolerant to weight, stronger in every way. It's also stronger when it comes to the machine ripping it up. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.